This is another episode of the Backstage Sports Podcast. I am
Woo!
Connor.
I am JT Harker. We're going to do this day in sports history, Joe.
Yeah, there it is.
Are you ready for this? Now,
I'm
look,
ready.
I think this will be best. I'm going to rattle them off, most of them pretty quick.
Okay.
And sometimes I'm just going to ask you a quick question. I just want to get your reaction to some of these historic events.
Let's do it.
All right, you ready for this?
Yeah.
1966, 20th NBA championship. Boston Celtics beat the LA Lakers 4-3.
Wow.
This was in an era when there were only 9 teams in the league.
Jesus.
Your thoughts?
Jesus Christ.
Dude, 9 teams in the league.
Dude, to be honest, there's a lot of and this is my little bone to pick with a lot of the older legendary players and a lot of the older constituency, I guess we can say, that argue that some of the older guys were so much better and back in my day guys. And a lot of these little nuggets that are fascinating to hear are like many of the times forgotten when people talk about what happened in the grand scheme of things, right? Like we talk about, Will Chamberlain scoring 100 points, right?
Right.
But we don't really talk about the fact that like 90% of the league had full-time jobs back then.
Yeah, it was a different era for sure. It was a different era. And, there's things that's why, to me, Kobe scoring 81 in that modern era of basketball is probably maybe more impressive. Because, you got to figure Wilt Chamberlain, as great as he was, I think he still would have been great today. But today, he would have been like Anthony Davis.
Right.
Back then, he was like Anthony. He's like Anthony Davis, except when nobody was as big as Anthony Davis.
Right. Right.
So this is Anthony Davis would be like everybody else is like Draymond Green. Like Bill Russell would be like Draymond Green.
Right. But then some guys, it makes me feel like I would be so curious to see them play in a more competitive era to see really what would have became of them. Like would Bill Russell have 11 championships if played against Shaq, right? You know what I mean? Like
or the big argument, but was like the old school argument was Wilt and Bill. Would Wilt Chamberlain have all those championships if he played for the Celtics? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. No disrespect to the great Bill Russell, but the answer is yes.
Yeah, see, it's just like a lot of those, like I wish we could, and they're even more of there's even more of a disparity between those eras than we talk about like a LeBron versus Jordan era or like like something like that where it's a little bit more modern day. It's like, some of these guys were playing back when, there weren't even black guys allowed in the league. Some of these guys were playing when guys would play ball and then go home and like work their second job as a mailman. Like stuff like that is
there's a lot of eras where it's different. Like as an example, I love Steph Curry, but guess what? Around the time I was born, I think not too long after I was born was when they established that when I was born, they didn't have a 3-point line yet in the NBA. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? So, or maybe right around the time or right before that. Steph Curry is not Steph Curry without the 3-point line. He'd still be a great shooter, but totally different ball game if you don't have the 3-point line.
Right. So
because he's not going to be slashing in there. It'd be a different game.
Right. And then like even with Steph Curry, like what would he have been like if he played, in an era like you say where there's no 3-pointer, but like when the big man was everything, right? So and their whole way of
and we're watching The Last Dance right now. Can you imagine Steph Curry playing against the Detroit Pistons in the 80s?
No chance.
No, you couldn't.
No chance, right? Because Steph Curry like made his bones from actually, being untouchable. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like one of those things. So it's like that's one. It's a slippery slope.
So, Joe, 1972.
Yeah.
The courts awarded the 1968 Kentucky Derby prize money to the second place winner due to the fact that the winner had been given drugs before the race. Now, did this horse cheat or did he just know how to party?
What?
Yeah. So 1972. This is 4 years after the Kentucky Derby. They awarded the prize money back to the second place finisher because they proved that the first place finisher had taken drugs.
Wow. That's
Crazy, huh?
that's that's a different take on partying right there.
1985, Billy Martin was named for the fourth time the New York Yankees manager. For the fourth time. Proving
Wow.
again that although they had a lot of money and although they were very successful, George Steinbrenner was an absolute freaking idiot.
Yeah.
1987, the NBA announces expansion to Charlotte, North Carolina, Miami, Florida, Minneapolis, Minnesota, and Orlando. This was in a 3-year span, paving the way for only one of those franchises to win a championship with your boy, LeBron James. Before that,
That's right.
D-Wade and Shaq. But I
So
remember when all those teams were brought into the league, only one of them's won a championship.
we haven't. That's crazy. That's crazy. So that also speaks to something that we can talk about on a later episode. But I think the NBA has an issue where they need to think about how they are redoing the draft and stuff like that, because I think it's very unlike the NFL where like it's kind of anybody's game every year, and it's seemingly not like that in the NBA to me. Like they have an issue where they need to kind of figure that out because
Do you know how they did that expansion draft when they brought in the Hornets and the Magic?
no.
They had an expansion draft for players that were already in the league. So what they did was each team was able to lock down, there was a term for it, certain players that were basically untouchable,
Yeah.
and then there were players that were not untouchable. And those teams could just go draft from all the rosters of all the NBA rosters, whoever they wanted onto their team.
Oh, that's kind of
Same thing with well, I take that back. I specifically remember that with the Raptors and the Grizzlies. I'm
Yeah.
assuming they did the same thing back then. 1987 NFL Draft, University of Miami quarterback Vinny Testaverde was picked by Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which changed absolutely nothing in history ever.
At all.
1990, Boston Celtics scored most points in a playoff, beat the New York Knicks 157 to 128, proving that neither one of those teams could play any defense at all.
That was the first All-Star game right there.
That's crazy.
And they talk about the modern day guys. What?
I don't know. Well, something happened in that game because Larry Bird was still playing. That's weird, but hey, it was probably overtime, but whatever. Point is, there were a lot of points scored.
Hey, too many.
Here we go. 2003, Andre Agassi recaptures the world #1 ranking to become the oldest top-ranked male in the history of the ATP rankings at 33 years and 13 days, proving that in the early 2000s, white people could still be good at sports.
Wow.
2016, very recent, NFL draft, Cal quarterback Jared Goff picked first
Oh,
by the
wow.
Los Angeles Rams, giving Tom Brady yet another young quarterback to go beat in the Super Bowl.
Also making possibly another mistake.
Maybe.
That didn't get them anywhere. Right now, it's not looking too good.
It's not looking good. Okay, now a serious one, Joe. This one actually, I thought to go check out Today in History randomly because I thought there'd be some funny stuff, but this one popped up right away. So this is a story that is probably the sports story that is dearest to my heart, all seriousness. Now, the day that I heard Kobe Bryant died, as a lot of us, I think, is right next to this one. Yeah. But when I was a kid, I believe it was the 92 Olympics. I'm pretty sure it was the Olympics where we had the dream team. I could be off one Olympics with that. I was sitting with my parents. Muhammad Ali was carrying the torch for that Olympics.
I remember
and now it's like a famous moment, right?
Yeah.
Obviously. I mean, it was a huge deal even back then. He had already been sick, and my dad was crying. I'd never seen my dad cry in my entire life.
Whoa.
Two things later, I saw my dad cry when our family dog died, and I saw my dad cry when my little cousin died. We were at her funeral. It was the only 3 times I ever saw my dad cry. This was the first time.
Yeah.
And there's Muhammad Ali, who I didn't really know who Muhammad Ali was because I was young. I was probably 2nd, 3rd grade. He's shaking, he's carrying the torch. Yeah. Dad's got tears running down his face. I said, Dad, who is this? He goes, oh, he was a great boxer, greatest boxer of all time. Yeah. So to me, it was like, oh, okay. He's the greatest boxer. That's a big deal. But of course, as I get older, I start realizing he was the Michael Jordan of that era. Like even to this day, it's like Babe Ruth, Muhammad Ali, and Michael Jordan, just because of the timing and with everything going on, they just transcended the sport,
and they knew that he was going out, like he was on his way out, he was kind of deteriorating.
Yeah, I mean, it was just because he was like Superman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like for me to grow up on Michael Jordan, it's like and that's what I think about now. If I saw MJ in that same position, it would make me feel a certain type of way because he was my hero as a kid.
Yeah.
And he could do anything.
Yeah.
And but see, this is what I realized on the point of this is even bigger than that because Muhammad Ali was so much more than a boxer.
Right.
And at the time I didn't know that. He did. I mean, and he's beyond any athlete.
He was a symbol. He was a symbol for so many people, and he was a legend out of the ring for a lot of people, for a lot of the stands that he was taking, a lot of things that he stood for. And that was an emotional. I remember watching that. I had one of my godbrothers was running in those Olympics, so I remember because of that, and I always remember that Olympics because of that moment and my godbrother being a runner in those Olympics.
So actually today marked not the day that he did that in the Olympics, carried the torch, but today, 1967, he refused induction into the Army and was stripped of his boxing title.
Yeah.
So it's a big day.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's no longer with us anymore, but much love and respect to Muhammad Ali.
So we have a special guest that we're gonna bring in. This guy is one of the super producers that we've come to know. Also, super musician that we've come to know. This guy's he's one of those guys where you talk about something on Facebook or Twitter or I'll post something and somebody will hit me in my text like just going at me like you said this about Jordan and he's like coming at me in my text, and I'm one of those guys like, man, I gotta get you on the show.
So it's like me. I appreciate that.
Yeah, how about that? But
we're talking Michael Jordan, the greatest player of all time, right? That's who we're talking about?
The second greatest player of all time.
Okay.
But we're so honored to have him on the podcast. He's a phenomenal producer, phenomenal musician, phenomenal songwriter. He's worked and toured with all of your favorite artists. Anthony Hamilton, Marsha Ambrose, Michelle Williams, Estelle. Oh, here we go with this.
Oh, yo, you giving me the Chicago
He's giving
Bulls.
the Jordan.
Stuff just starts out of nowhere.
Yo, first off,
I need giving the Jordan intro music right here.
Listen, you can't deny that music right there.
I don't know how this happens.
It gets you pumped, man. It does.
I'm hyped right now.
Starting.
Yo, you was reading my accolades and he started playing the Chicago Bulls. I was like, I have never felt that famous before in my life.
Yeah, this is it. That's how we treat you when you come on the podcast. So yeah, he's worked with all types of people: Anthony Hamilton, Michelle, Marsha Ambrose, Michelle Williams, Estelle. He's toured with Common King when they were on the road with Justin Timberlake, and most importantly, me. There you go.
You toured with the Common King?
My guy.
Yeah,
I'm the music director.
Oh, that's dope. We actually opened for them. 3-4 years ago in Santa Monica. They were great, man.
Oh, wow.
They were great.
Man. Down to earth guys.
You know Jamie Kailani?
I do not know Jamie Kailani,
okay.
Unless he has a nickname.
She might have a nickname. It's Bruno Mars' sister, but she used to manage them.
No, I don't know. They know them.
Right.
I don't. I'm from Kansas, so I can't even play that.
Kansas. Shout out Kansas.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, they put on a great show, man. They were great.
But I did play with them when we opened for Bruno Mars at the Aloha Stadium. I music directed those two shows, so I was there for that.
Oh, that's
I just don't know. I don't know. I don't know like Jamie and all that. But Sharon, who Joe knows, our good friend Sharon and Elena was on that show with us too. Who brought them both.
Cool.
Yeah, shout out Sharon.
Yeah, I saw a video. I saw a video on that show. That was a big deal for him, man. From being out there.
Yeah. So
big deal, and they were loud.
So first and foremost, let's it's good to see you. How you living in this in the middle of the apocalypse right now? How you living? How you feeling? How's the family? How's all that stuff going?
I'm looking at your hair and I'm trying to figure out do you line yourself up because you look great. You sir look amazing. I have a hat on because I do not. I'm looking at your beard. And I'm
listen, y'all. I've been
listen.
Let me tell y'all a little nugget for those who don't know me personally. I went to school in Boston.
Phenomenal.
No shade on Boston, but I went to school in Boston. One of the worst places to try to find a Barbara in America, right? In my freshman year, I was trying it. I was, giving people chances, going here and there. I was trying it out, and I was getting wrecked everywhere I went. It was terrible. So finally, I just was like, you know what, fuck it. If I'm gonna fuck myself up, at least I'm gonna do it for free. You know what I'm saying?
I can live with the
so
fuck
I just
up
started like
myself,
trying to figure it out. And now I've been cutting my own hair ever since, and it comes in handy because when you're on the road and you're not rich and you don't travel with your barber.
Oh my God!
I've been a saving grace for myself and a couple of my bandmates. So if you need a haircut during quarantine, hit me up.
Oh, I'm gonna have to do that, bro. Yeah. Look, man, I'm good, bro. You know what I mean? Listen, I'm healthy, which means I'm wealthy, and same thing for my family. So I have no complaints. I refuse to complain. I'm healthy and I'm here, and I'll take it.
Dope. Okay, so we're gonna get into the episodes 3 and 4 that just aired on ESPN, The Last Dance. How did you guys feel about that? The two episodes. Here we go. We back into it. How did you guys feel about the 2 episodes that just aired? If you can't see JT, he's pointing to the sky right now.
I can see him every time he plays this music.
What was your first reaction and your takeaway from these for the 2 episodes that just played on Sunday, 3 and 4?
Let's recap real quick what they went over. So we've got we're past the point where Scotty's back. We've got Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman decides he needs a vacation. I did not know this.
Yeah.
I didn't know this. He decides he needs to go to Vegas for 48 hours just because he needs to.
Which was a terrible idea from the beginning.
They go and pick him up. Carmen Electra is hiding in the hotel room as they come get him in the room. And she's telling this whole story. Michael Jordan goes to Vegas to get him.
Yeah.
Like, did MJ have to be there?
Well, you know what? They somebody corrected that, and they said Michael Jordan didn't have to go to Vegas. So what happened was Dennis actually came back to Chicago in 48 hours, but he didn't come back to practice.
Oh,
so Michael Jordan had to go to his apartment. He was back in Chicago, but he was in his apartment.
Oh, so
that's where Carmen Electra was.
When they edited that, Carmen was at his house.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Still a great story.
Yeah.
Still a great story.
Yeah,
another great story is when I was at NRG Studios in 2002, and I walked in, all of a sudden felt the presence that 2 people were having sex in the lounge, and it was Dave Navarro and Carmen Electra.
Nuh-uh.
That's awesome. What?
Real life.
I was you, Joe. Exactly. What?
It was awkward and awesome all at the same time.
And what did you do?
I walk in. Well, it's dark because it was the lights were off. I walked in and I'm just trying to grab a bagel. So I'm grabbing a bagel and I kind of heard something, but like it was my second day there, so I'm just like, I don't know, whatever. I'm kind of like doing something, and then I just like hear this movement kind of still, and I look over. They're about 25 feet away. It was this big lounge.
Yeah.
And I look over, and then they're noticing me as I'm noticing them, and I'm just like, and it was just like this thing where I'm looking at them. Awkward. And they're looking over at me.
Awkward.
And then we're just like.
I just turned around.
Right.
Got the hell out of there. I would have never brought it up ever.
Never did. This is my band. We're the only people that knew, and you guys right now.
Well, there you are. Another day in history for you guys.
Well, there you go.
So, what, Joe? Go into what your thoughts are, because I need to kind of recap in my mind of what I.
Well, I had so many thoughts, so I'm gonna let Gabe go first, because I have so many things to say. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Check it out. So when I watched it, like first off, Joe, thanks again for having me, bro. You always think about they say this is a big rich town whenever I see you or talk to you, because That was mutually our jam.
We had a power watch group for a couple of years, man. We was
super
steady
emotionally
and
involved.
Yes, we was faithful.
Yeah. Let me tell you, man. So, like, all right, first off, I was very impressed with these backstories. What I've been loving most about these documentaries, episodes 1, 2, and now 3 and 4, is I didn't know Dennis Rodman's backstory. It's like, yo, you came from that, bro. You was living in that situation. You grew up like that, and then just like which is really cool to speak to their talent. And then like even his whole thing was like everybody else is up at 3 a.m. taking shots. Now I'm calling my boys. Y'all need y'all to shoot the ball from over here. Now come shoot the ball from over here. I was like, dude, really. It was almost like mad scientist genius, and I was really impressed with that because from a numbers perspective, from a stat perspective, you know, Dennis Rodman's somebody who will put up 25 rebounds and 0 points. Like, yo, I didn't come to score. I came to get boards.
Right.
Like
he had a couple games like that. Where he talked about.
He had more than a couple.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah. He's one of the greatest rebounders.
Some of his
he had like 7 or something like that. Where he had like 20. Lines
were insane. Like 2 points, 24 rebounds. Something
yeah.
Because that's all he did was go to get rebounds.
He had a couple 0 and 20.
Oh yeah.
Which is
great. I thought that was really crazy about it, man. And I was thinking to myself, if I was a coach, what would I do for a player like that? Yo, I don't want the glory. I want to be the garbage, which I thought was incredible.
Anything.
Jesus. And I looked at it from my perspective, but I looked at it like him with Detroit Pistons. And what I liked about Detroit Pistons, like in this, I think that LeBron James, just so we're clear, is one of the greatest physical specimens I have ever seen in my life ever. And I think he's one of the greatest basketball players ever. I tend to agree with people like Michael Jordan and Kareem when they say we're judging players, but we're not judging the eras in which they played. So it's kind of like
it's so funny. We were just right before you came on. We were just talking about that.
It was like it's kind of like when I sent you I sent Joe the interview with Jay Williams and KD, and like he was talking about 3-point shooting. And Jordan, the most 3-point attempts Jordan ever took in a season was 280. And Steph Curry took 800 some odd attempts. It was like different eras. Yeah, so when I hear people say things like, well, LeBron doesn't play anybody, or when I hear people go, well, Jordan didn't play anybody, I'm like, that's really disrespectful to everybody else who worked their ass off to get to the NBA and play on that level. So I when it comes to Mike and LeBron, I tend to look at them like that, especially now since Brian is a Laker. I really appreciate it, but
I gotta be honest too. The era thing with those guys doesn't speak to me that much because I think they both played against great players and both great teams. Obviously different. The game is different, but they both played against great players and great teams. Now you could judge how many great players and how many great teams, but to say that he didn't play in the '60s, he played against a Hall of Fame guy. You know what I mean? So that argument in this case doesn't really sit with me anyway. But
I was looking at it baseline. I remember playing at the YMCA's or whatever in the morning, and I remember like this dude who looked like he was old enough to be my dad, taller guy, bigger guy, taking us all to school. Apparently, he used to play for the Bucks. I'm like, this dude looks like he could be my dad's age, and he's still giving us work, which says to me that I think that we arrogantly think people were worse than what we give them credit for.
Listen, I'll tell you right now, my high school basketball coach, who actually played in the NBA for the Sixers. He was one of the best college players in the country when he was in college. This was when UCLA was like UCLA. Like Bill Walton says when the Ogden brothers came to town with Santa Clara, that you better watch out. They were the second-ranked team in the nation. He played 2 years in the NBA, maybe 3, rode the bench the whole time. He was an undersized, I guess he was a power forward or a center in college. He's only like 6'4", 6'5", maybe 6'6". This guy at 55 to 60 years old against very good high school basketball players gave us none of us could touch him. None of us could touch him. Dude, he would school all of us every day, all day.
So but I tend to cringe. My bad. Go ahead, Joe.
And I think there's something to say about today's athlete versus the athletes of old when we talk about comparing eras. I think there is something to say about, just like in every other facet of our life today, technology, among other things and findings and new knowledge and new education, has improved a lot of things, right? So I think it is a little bit negligent of us to ignore the fact that that same idea holds true in athletics, right? The players today are bigger, they are stronger, they are faster, they are better conditioned. You know what I mean? Some of it is technology, but a lot of times when I hear people try to knock people that LeBron played against or his competition, I'm like, you do realize that these, like earlier I was talking about something on Twitter about, they were talking about the Jordan rules, right? And how the bad boy Pistons used to beat him up and knock him down.
All flagrant fouls, right? Joe. All flagrant twos.
Right. But then somebody made a point and said they showed a whole montage of people just hacking the mess out of LeBron, right? And somebody said, oh, well, you know, one of them was Marcus Morris, right? There's a picture, I guess internet famous picture of Marcus Morris literally hanging on LeBron as he goes up for a layup.
I saw that.
And somebody tried to like, well, Marcus Morris isn't.
Bron's too strong.
I said, Marcus Morris is 6'8", 230, right? The tallest, the I guess the guy with the most weight on the Pistons at the time was 160.
No,
right?
No. What are you talking about? No,
Bill. I don't think that's
I'll
true.
tell you, Bill Laimbeer was 250 at least. That's one guy.
No. The tallest was whatchamacallit? I can't remember his name. But he was the tallest, and he was 160.
Oh, right? I don't know, but they had bruisers.
So think about the point was that.
I'm looking it up.
The point was that people.
James Edwards was 7 foot, and Bill Laimbeer was 6'11". So, I mean, just for all fairness.
Yeah. So the point was that people downplay the athletes of today, whether because of their name or whatever, and then neglect to realize that like these guys are faster, they're stronger, they're more conditioned, they're well trained. They've been playing basketball since they were in AAU.
Top to bottom,
13 years old.
Top to bottom, I think it's more athleticism.
Yeah.
Top to bottom, but that's not to say there weren't. Charles Barkley in today's game would be a beast. Clyde Drexler in today's game would be a beast. Magic Johnson in today's game would still be a beast. Yeah. But top to bottom, for sure. But I think what my point is, the reason I say I don't really consider it that much, because the big argument is LeBron's playing against overall bigger, better, faster, stronger guys from top to bottom. Back in the day, you could damn near kill somebody and not even get a flagrant and get tossed out of the game. I hear those arguments a little bit, but I think the point is, I know the LeBron in that era, even when it was more physical, would still be LeBron, and I know MJ in this era today would still be MJ.
Oh, I agree.
That's why I'm saying I don't hear the competition part too much, because they both would still be dope today. You know what I'm saying? So
I agree. I hear it much more.
Yeah, it's an argument. They try to use it as an argument.
Yeah, I hear it much more to kind of water down LeBron's competition than I hear for anything else. But that's
I just feel like we should be like, we should definitely be calling them out too, because Nick Wright, who's from Kansas City, just like me, I hate when he does that. It's like, here's my thing. It's like if you have a player that you believe in, then just argue the points objectively. Don't select certain stats that just make your player look good. Some people do that with George. Some people do that with Bryant.
Because what happens is, even if someone agrees with me and they think MJ is the greatest of all time, they'll use an argument that sounds stupid, and then I feel like an idiot. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because it's like, dude, I'm glad we agree, but what you just said makes no sense.
Just
like, if we're gonna talk stuff, let's talk real stuff that matters.
Right.
That's some real shit. I could tell you who could mess them all up. I mean, or who would be a beast to guard no matter what era they played in. And that's Kevin Durant. Easy money sniper. Yeah. You're 6'11" with a J like that, and your wingspan is gonna give you, like, to me, a well-conditioned KD is problems.
KD would have had to put on some LBs though if he played.
Bro, especially playing Detroit.
It's true, but see, that's the other thing. Back in that era, they didn't develop any guy to be a KD. If you were 7 feet tall or anywhere near, say, he would have been forced to be a forward, which means he may have been considered a bad basketball player, because he would have gotten pushed around and not been able to play in the post.
Right.
They didn't know what to do with a 6'10".
Definitely got hit hard by Rick Mahorn and those dudes.
Yeah, they didn't know what to do with a 6'11" guy that could handle the ball back. It was just.
Yeah.
I think.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Gabe.
No, I was like, so when I was watching the documentary, I thought that part was really, really crazy. Because it was like, all right, and I like the fact that, all right, we started finding out, and I knew about Paxton, things like that. But it's like, all right, man, understanding how Phil was like, yo, you got to use the team. And I think it makes the narrative more humane.
That was my thing. That was my thing. So the thing that my big takeaway from this was a lot of things that people love to neglect when they're making the GOAT argument, or even just when
that you never hear Jordan say, by the way.
Even when even when they're just, it might not even be comparing, even when they're just praising, right? Because we talked about last week about the episode last week was titled "Keep the Same Energy," right, on Spotify, right? This is the thing that my thing was. I love that they gave Phil Jackson his just due and his shine, right? I love that they gave Scottie Pippen his just due and his shine. I love that they gave Dennis Rodman his just due and his shine. Because when you let a lot of people tell it, especially in my comments on Facebook and on Twitter, it's Michael Jordan was the GOAT. He did it by himself. He was flawless. He never made any mistakes. He didn't fail, and he was perfect from the day he was born. Right?
Well, that's just dumb.
And I hear that. I hear it so much, and then you hear Phil Jackson come on and say, "Well, I had to tell Michael, who's open? Michael, John Paxson's open. Well, then pass him the ball, right?" So a lot of we talked about the mindset too. We talked about this killer mindset. We talked about it last week with Mike Cook when he was on. That was another thing that that it was a big thing for me, right? Because it was this knock on LeBron and like, he's not great because he doesn't have the killer mindset, because he's not Jordan and Kobe and I'm like, I can't with the BS mindset, right? Because
I gotta be hold on, bro. I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why they come with the
Let me finish though. The same reason, one of the same things that they knock him for is a lot of the things that Phil Jackson brought to Michael Jordan's life, right? They call even LeBron's worst enemies call him a basketball savant from day one, right?
He is, of course.
And so why do we call him that? Because he's such an orchestrator of the game, right? And that's one of the things that make him who he is, right? And so last week we talked about, well, if he was only Kobe, or if he was only Michael in his thought process, and I go, if he was Michael or Jordan in his thought process, he wouldn't be LeBron. He wouldn't be the guy, you know what I'm saying, who people think of as some of the, even people who's called Jordan the GOAT. So a lot of them say that he's the best all-around player. They go, oh, all right, well, he can be, we'll give him that, right? So I love in watching on Sunday that they showed Michael needed Phil Jackson to come in and change his mentality from what we talked about last week: see rim, see ball, put ball in rim, right? Michael needed that. And had Michael not have Phil Jackson not have come along and implemented these things, a lot of these things that LeBron is criticized for, passing the ball to the open guy, making the right play, team efficiency, a lot of things that people love to say LeBron makes him number 2 and number 3. Is a lot of that is what Phil Jackson brought to the table. And I love that they highlighted that, because people love to ignore that part of it.
I think your point is actually really well valid. I think like sometimes this is what happens. We tend to we romanticize people in the role that we want to see them in, because you never hear Michael Jordan deny any of what you just said.
No, never.
He
never.
Like, and that's the part that was making me laugh. I'm like, we becoming like it's like, hey guys, it's possible for you to like Michael Jordan and LeBron.
Right.
For example, somebody tell Shannon Sharp LeBron's not gonna marry him. You know what I mean? Like,
no, hold on. We will not. There will be no Unc slander on here.
I will slam Unc. I can't.
There will be no Unc Shannon slander today.
Yes,
not today, Satan.
Shannon Sharp will beat my ass for sure. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get it. But
we love Unc on the podcast.
I love Unc.
Sit down with us one day on the podcast.
He definitely minimizes the accomplishments, just like Nick Wright does. Just the same way in turn that Skip Bayless does for LeBron James. I'm like, listen, you guys are all too good to be minimizing what these people are doing. You brought up Kobe Bryant. A lot of people don't tend to think that my man was all defense 12 times. It's just like, you just want to marry him to a role. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that what was brilliant about Phil Jackson and Michael Jordan, and even that John Paxson thing, like, the story will get set up as if it was set up in the fourth quarter with 3 minutes left. No, this was at the opening of the game. It was like, And you hear Jordan like, yo, motherfucker made it. I threw it to him again.
Yeah.
Oh, he's working. I kept doing it. It's like, so yeah, to your point, and I think that people just need to like come out of their religious corner, so to speak, for lack of a better word, when it comes to these guys, because nobody does it on their own. Nobody. Like, yeah.
But yeah, it gets ridiculous with the arguments, because I don't know, who's saying that kind of stuff, but I mean, MJ's the first guy. He's the first guy to say, my accomplishments don't exist without Scottie Pippen. He's the first guy to give his teammates love. He's the first guy to do all of this. But other people start. Oh, yeah,
it's other people. It's not Jordan. Yeah, it's not Jordan. It's other people, right? Like, it's, you know what I'm saying? You go on Twitter, you go on Facebook, you go on Instagram, whatever, and it's kind of in the arguments, right? Because it's gonna be an age-old argument. We're gonna argue about Michael versus LeBron for years, right? So and we love it. We love doing it. I love
and us Kobe fans can't appreciate it, because I feel like I just skipped our boy. Like, don't disrespect Kobe, bro. Like, don't do it. I'm so fucking tired of that. Don't disrespect my guy, man.
But to me, Kobe still kind of has an argument. I mean, people have just assumed LeBron passed him, and I've kind of been on that boat too. But then when you look at Kobe, it's like, because I looked at the same thing yesterday. I looked at the all defensive teams, and you're right, Kobe had 12, and I didn't know that either. I was like, wow, 12 all defensive teams.
Kobe had 26 50-point plus games. Like,
it's crazy. And my argument, I know you don't know me yet here, but my argument the other day is LeBron is the greatest player of all time. It's like to this day, Colin Cowherd still says to him, when it came down to the Magic and Michael argument, which was the big argument back in the day, he always had Magic. He's like, because basically they won the same amount of championships, but I thought Magic was the better all-around player. And his argument is always like what your argument is with LeBron. And it's fair. And it actually perked my ears up. I went, I kind of see what he's saying. But for my money, when it comes to who the greatest player is, I look at winning, I look at defense, and I look at scoring, even though LeBron's clearly a better passer and rebounder. And I think MJ was the better scorer. I think he was the better defender. And I think he obviously won more championships. They've both won championships, and they've both done a lot of winning. And LeBron went to more championships. But I just think the 6 rings,
So for me, I always make the point that the championships is a part of it, but it's not all of it, right? And I also think that, like I said, the big part of that I liked about the documentary was the shine that they gave Jordan's supporting cast, right? And I said, if my brother texts me, because whenever the documentary is going on, all LeBron fans is getting little shot texts and all the little, you know what I'm saying? So my brother texted me, was like, if LeBron had what Jordan had, he would have 10 chips on us, right? And I text him back and I said, well, if LeBron had Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman and Phil Jackson, yeah, he would have a lot more championships, right? Because I feel like, I said, Pippen, I like the highlight of Pippen, because Pippen is very underrated in modern day times when we talk about.
Oh my God, bro! Can we talk about Can we talk about defense with this man?
Can we talk about defense when? I said when we were arguing about it last week, I said LeBron had. I said Jordan was never asked to do the things that LeBron is asked to do on a team, right? By himself, right? Jordan had what some people say arguably is the greatest rebounder of all time. He had Scottie Pippen to be a defensive dog, right? When the Lakers played the Spurs, when the Lakers played the Bulls that year that they lost, Magic Johnson came out and Michael Jordan was on him at first. Magic Johnson gave Michael Jordan a triple-double. In game 2, Phil Jackson said, Pippen, you're on Magic, and he locked him down. And you saw in the documentary on Ron Harper was like, yeah, like we knew that like once Scottie got on him, we knew, like even Mike said, like we know, I've seen what he can do in practice, so I knew once he was on Magic, it was a wrap, right? So we undervalue the value of Scottie Pippen so much. Scottie Pippen, even in the season that Jordan wasn't in, Scottie was 22-9. Finished 3rd in MVP voting and was an all-star. The team won 55 games, and the year before with Jordan, they won 54 in 94, right?
But they won a championship.
No, not
Yeah.
94, 93.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Sorry. So these are the things that Scottie Pippen was ranked first on the Bulls in assists and steals, and second in scoring and rebounds and minutes played. These are things that we don't talk about.
What were the stats again?
Scottie was first on the team in assists and steals, and second in scoring and rebound and minutes played.
In this series, this was what series?
This was during the 97-98 season.
When MJ was back.
Yeah, this is the last dance.
Okay.
The point I would bring up to that is like I think everything is all in perspective. Like when you talk about things like that, because there's no denying. Like, okay, they'll say Irvin Magic Johnson gave Jordan triple-double, largely with the assists, right? It's like, all right, well, your players still got to make these shots and things like that. So it's like the Lakers were in position to make those shots. The other part that I thought that was interesting about the documentary was the backlash that the Pistons got for walking off during the playoffs. Now, what I didn't know, I didn't
think it was a big deal to me.
Well,
I thought it was a lot to do about nothing.
Well, as somebody, what I love more than anything in sports, I really do appreciate good sportsmanship. Mm-hmm. I don't know, something in me does. It's like, don't cheat the game. You guys are professionals, and I'm a professional in my field, and I know how hard I work. Right. So I can only imagine how hard somebody who's taking a physical, paying a physical tax every day to be at that level is. I didn't know that Boston had walked off the court without doing it to the Pistons. They had me like, wait a minute. Right. And I do think that Isaiah Thomas, they were talking about that, and they were talking about Dream Team and all of that. There's major backlash that I don't think, I think the perspective was lost, especially when you find out that Larry Bird did the same thing. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
I thought that was very interesting. You know what I'm saying? I think the Bulls took it personal. Like, I kind of laughed when Horace Grant was like straight up bitches and all of that. I'm like, all right, man, it's years later,
They're
bro.
Clearly still butthurt about everything that happened. They clearly are still butthurt. Like, if Michael Jackson saw Isaiah Thomas in the street, fresh out for accident, he would drive by him, like, period. Like,
sprinkle salt into his wound. I was laughing about that, man. I thought that was quite hilarious. But once again, though. Go ahead, bro. Go ahead, because I could talk about.
No, that was really interesting seeing Isaiah, because what some people don't know is allegedly, but it seems like it's fact. Isaiah wasn't on the Dream Team because MJ didn't want him on the Dream Team.
Right, and Isaiah's never gonna forget that either.
No, Isaiah's one of the greatest point guards of all time.
Yo, now to their point, they've been talking about that. Let me just address that. Like, I think that it was circulated that it was MJ, but now I'm starting to wonder more and more, because Karl Malone was vocally like, "Yo, I don't want to play with Isaiah Thomas." He was loud about it. So
they just didn't like him. They just
didn't like him. But like, here's the thing that got me. Yo, your 2 championships, Chuck Daly, came from Isaiah Thomas.
How about that?
And you coached the Dream Team. You gonna do your boy?
That was Isaiah. They didn't like him because he was the only one that was beating Isaiah is the only one out of that legendary era who took down Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, and Larry Bird.
Yes.
So nobody, because he was they didn't like him because he was the wrecking ball. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting though. I was like, Chuck.
But it's more than that though, because the attitude he brought and how dirty they were, and he was kind of the focal point of how dirty. That's the other part too. It's like why they don't like Patrick Beverley. Like, if Patrick Beverley were winning a bunch of chips, you'd hate him more because he's a dick, and now he's winning a bunch of chips.
Yeah,
same thing. Because Isaiah,
I feel like dirty. Patrick Beverley be talking trash for plays he's not responsible for.
Of course he does.
100%.
I be like, you're so loud. You didn't have anything to do with that play, Patrick Beverley.
Who was that? Somebody came out and said Patrick Beverley got y'all fooled. Russell Westbrook came out and said Patrick Beverley got y'all fooled. He just be out here talking, but he would. In reality, we go at him. So
it's one of my favorite players, by the way, Westbrook.
Before we got.
Yeah, I mean, we can go back and forth, about the help that the guys had, but I remember when MJ won, it was just him and Scottie. They won the first 3, and the other leading scorer was like Horace Grant. Horace Grant was never a great player. You know what I mean? It's like the next 3, they had Dennis Rodman, which is great, who didn't score anything.
But I think
score a lick.
I think the big thing, my big thing was what Scottie brought to the team. And
he's great. Yeah, he's great.
And what Scotty brought to there. Speaking of Horace Grant had a quote. It said, if I had a vote in that first championship for MVP, it would have been Scotty. He brought his whole game and everyone.
That's insane. Michael Jordan averaged 33 points. He led the team. He had one less block than Scotty. He led the team in steals. His field goal percentage was higher. I mean, that's insane.
That's also that also speaks to my point about Phil Jackson, right? Like Phil Jackson came in and had to change how Michael was playing and how he saw the game. And Michael said it in a documentary. He said, well, you know, I didn't really like the idea of Phil Jackson coming in because Doug Collins was giving me the ball, putting the ball in my hands, and Phil Jackson was going to take the ball out of my hands, right? So all the scoring and all the things, he was the league MVP. He was the scoring champ. He was the slam dunk competition. And what happened? He was losing, right? In 85, he averaged 30 points per game. Lost in the first round, got swept. 86, he averaged 43 points per game. Lost in the first round, got swept. 87, he averaged 35 points per game. Lost in the first round. Like, so 88, same thing, 36. Lost in the second round. 89, averaged 34. Lost it. So he was scoring all over the place and it just tearing people up.
They were losing the last 2 years. Those 2 years before they won the chip, they lost in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Right. Right. I'm saying he was scoring. I was talking about his averages though. Like he was scoring all these points and ripping everybody up on the offensive side of the ball. But they weren't winning. You know what I'm saying? They were winning. They were winning. They just weren't winning championships. No, they weren't winning. They was getting bounced out in the first round. You know what I'm saying?
And the Eastern Conference Finals.
85, 86, and 87 was in the first round. That was all in the first round. 88 was in the second round. They weren't winning.
With bad teams that he was putting in the playoffs.
But the point is, Jordan was erupting and they weren't winning. So they didn't win until Phil Jackson came in and said, you have to play team basketball. You have to pass the ball. You have to get these other guys involved, or it makes the defense really easy. And let them key in on you.
And they also traded Charles Oakley, who I didn't know was a.
They also didn't have Scottie Pippen and didn't win anything until they had Scottie Pippen.
Well, funny enough, I didn't know that they had Charles Oakley at first, and that the Bulls were known for being cocaine heads. I thought that was hilarious.
How about that?
That was crazy. But is that a reflection of Jordan? Or is that just a reflection of the team? Like, you need a better team to win at a team sport like basketball. Winning a championship is hard.
I think we don't hear that, and I talked about this last week. Like, giving the same grace. Like, we don't hear that when it comes to LeBron. And somebody say that, it's like, oh, this is.
I don't.
And then when it comes to we don't hear that when they talk about Jordan.
It all depends on who you listen to, though. Like, okay, like certain.
I never hear from anybody I've talked to. I've never, except for
certain pundits on television. You know, no matter what, they can't give LeBron a compliment without taking a shot at MJ, and then it's vice versa. Like, it's very rare that you meet. Look, this is what happened.
But I'm just saying, LeBron aside, when people talk about Jordan and his legacy, they don't talk about the things that they ignore it. They ignore the dark spots. And a lot of the things that you hear is Jordan was perfect, and Jordan was not perfect.
So the
he wasn't perfect. But once there's always a journey to get to the championship. There's always a journey to get there. But once he got there, he never let go. They never lost the championship. Meanwhile, LeBron.
Yeah, but let's not go with the but once he got there, he lost in horrible fashion before he got there. And we don't talk. We got to talk about that too.
But of course, that's my favorite part of the story. That's my favorite part of the story. And then he goes on to win 6.
But nobody want to talk about it. Like, it's like
I'll talk about it all day long.
It's like he never lost. Like he never lost. Like he never got swept. He got swept in the first round.
I feel like the three people on this Zoom call, we have all acknowledged it, bro. Like. But the
thing is, this conversation goes on outside of this Zoom call. No one brings it up. Like no one brings it up. It's always mulled over.
The reason I get into it with Joe is that's all he wants to talk about. He doesn't want to talk. Like as soon as you say the number 6, it's like the number 6 doesn't even exist in his brain. He doesn't want to hear the number 6. As soon as he hears 6, he's like, no 6.
No, because I think it's real. I think it's real easy to just go to the success. I can go to the success parts of LeBron's story or anybody's story, of Kobe's story, of anybody's story, right?
Well, first off, I appreciate you saying Kobe. I do appreciate you saying Kobe. Thank you very much. Laker Nation, man. Listen. that's oof, don't get me started. Check it out. If you approach life the way Kobe approached basketball, you will be successful.
Truth.
I think that the people. This is what happened with LeBron James. I'm gonna tell you the truth. Before he played a professional pro game, he was already being. And I hate that the pundits started doing that with Zion Williamson too. It's kind of like you're given too many coronations before an accomplishment. Now, follow me on this. LeBron's first game was great. LeBron was a hooper. I was excited as hell when he made that big shot out against Orlando. I was like, why root for somebody to fail? It's hard to get to the NBA. So
Thanks.
I was digging it, but I do feel like a lot of people got turned off when you start hearing this is the greatest ever before they started doing a lot of things. And realistically, if we're going to be honest, on LeBron's early development years was also Derrick Rose was balling hard too, and had Derrick Rose not got hurt.
D Rose might be one of the biggest tragedies of the.
But you see what I'm saying
NBA.
though? He was box office, bro. He was so fun to watch.
Yes, he was.
And I think I remember watching SportsCenter do a highlight reel. It was a Cavs game. When LeBron would do a layup, they would LeBron with the layup, and it was kind of like us. And I said back then, okay, I kind of, the NBA needs a new marketer, and it's kind of just like what Detroit Pistons. Michael Jordan was chosen to be the face.
Yeah.
Like as a Jordan fan, I'm like, listen, y'all know there was a lot of marketing because it was yielding dollars. So I think with LeBron James, a lot of people kind of like get at him. It's because a lot of people feel like he had a groundswell before the inevitable thing that he would do, which is win championships.
They feel like he was handed stuff before it was necessarily earned.
He did. He was. He was talked about in manners that were uncommon to the NBA because he was an anomaly, right? And also, but this is the context that I have a gripe with people when they talk about these things, because they don't put things in context. So they talk about what LeBron did early in LeBron came out of high school, right? It's crazy. So they talk about what LeBron did early in his career versus what Jordan did early in his career. Jordan played for a well-known, renowned legendary basketball
Dean
coach
Smith, my nigga,
before he even got to the NBA. And LeBron was playing at St. Vincent St. Mary. When LeBron first got to the finals, he was 23 years old. But this is the context so a lot of times when I'm arguing my side, I'm only arguing context. I'm saying like, that's true, but this is what you're not saying. You know what I mean?
I'm telling you. So like, just because I know you made that point that when you said you hated when people brought up the killer instinct thing, and that kind of drives you crazy.
Hated it.
Well, let me tell you. Let me tell you what I think people are referring to. It's kind of like sometimes there are times, I'll be honest with you, and I love the fact that Kobe and Carmelo, and I think he was either D-Wade and him, when it was LeBron on Kobe, and LeBron goes and he makes the right play, and Kobe, my guy, Kobe was like, bro, they weren't like mad because it was all entertainment, but they were all like, nigga.
This is what Mike was saying last week.
But like, this is what it is. It would be different. LeBron is the guy that I want to see bully everybody. I like when LeBron takes it to the hole. It's kind of like Kareem Abdul in the skyhook. Well, that's his move. Like, and even, who cares if they go, he does the same move. Stop my move, but then I'll do something different. I don't need to have I'm gonna keep skyhooking until you make me do something else. And like,
right.
So when I watch LeBron, when LeBron wants to take it to the basket, there's no stopping him. Like I said before, LeBron could play football. The guy's a physical specimen, unlike anything I've ever seen ever. So sometimes there are times I'm like, yo, bro, I know that you can do it, because when they play OT, Miami Heat against Spurs, during Miami's second championship, because they got their first one against OKC, their second championship, after Ray Allen makes a shot, sends it into overtime, and then it was an OT, was the first time that I saw LeBron James play without a headband. It was an OT in Miami after Ray Allen did that. Yeah. And I'm watching how hard my man is hustling, and I'm like, see, you play like that, then people can't nitpick certain parts, because
they're gonna nitpick because they're gonna nitpick because the truth of the matter is this whole killer instinct thing is a cloud of dust when it comes to LeBron, because he has it, and he just knows when to turn on and turn it off, right? So like he knows when to make the right play, and people ignore what was that game 6 against the Celtics when the memes go around when he has the demon face on, and he went berserk. Was that not the killer instinct? What was that? What do we call that? You know what I'm saying? We act like you don't have these things.
The problem is
he turns them on. We act like you don't have the clutch gene. He's
never,
more clutch on paper than Michael Jordan is.
I would never say that. I would never say LeBron doesn't have a killer instinct. I could just never put him on the same level as MJ, and I think that's when we're talking about the small things that make the difference. Because for me,
that's nostalgia to me.
It's not nostalgia. It's not nostalgia.
It is because the facts say something different. In the final 5 seconds, the facts
don't say something different because
I'm gonna tell you what the facts say.
6 rings is a stat too. That's
the final 5 seconds of fourth quarters or overtime in the playoffs. LeBron has more buzzer beaters than Michael Jordan. 4-3. He has a higher. Hold on.
You've talked about that.
Let me finish. But he has a higher field goal percentage, 46-45. He's made more shots in the clutch, 6-5 on one fewer attempt than Jordan. So on paper, he's literally more clutch than Jordan, right?
Okay.
But we act like it's such a. It's only by little. It's only by little.
But let me ask you then. Let me ask you then. Is LeBron James a better clutch player than Michael Jordan?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, then I think that's a little difference where we disagree then, because
numbers don't lie, and I think that a lot of times we get so caught up in the nostalgia.
I don't say numbers don't lie. I think numbers lie.
Just like a lot of people thought for the longest time that Kobe was super clutch until they looked at the numbers and they went, he's not.
He's been clutching more big moments that actually win championships.
Lie, bro.
What does do the stat? Go ahead.
Listen, so I'm not one of those people who say numbers don't lie, because numbers, once again, we just got to talking about the legendary career Isaiah Thomas had. And from a numbers perspective, his numbers are not pretty to look at. I do think that people who just live and die by analytics,
which I don't.
The whole story. I understand that you do, but what I understand is you have
numbers lie, but statistics tell what actually transpired on the court.
But numbers are a representation. But once again, it takes it back to era.
LeBron is better than Jordan in the clutch.
It takes it back to era, and I don't think that. And personally speaking, I don't think that LeBron is better than Michael Jordan or Kobe in the clutch. But then again, it's like, okay, what do you find as clutch? Some people started saying clutch was.
But why did the numbers say he is?
Was there a time? Connor.
Is clutch 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, or is it the final 3 minutes of the game, or is it the final 5 minutes of the game?
I gave you the stats I gave you were the end of fourth quarter and overtime. 5 seconds or less. That's what. That's what
Joe. When LeBron was young, the big knock on him was how he was performing at the end of games. Right. That was the big thing that he had to overcome if he wanted to be considered the best player in the league and start winning championships. So was there a time in his career where you thought he was afraid at the end of games? Because that was the big knock on.
Was there a time in
LeBron's career when everyone was like, dude, you got to start performing at the end of games?
So the same way that we say that, the same way we excuse Jordan losing and saying he had to learn how to win is the same way I say LeBron had to learn how to win early in his career. Like he got swept by the Spurs because he had to.
Hold on. Who said excuse?
But I'm just asking. I'm saying people say I'm all about giving the same energy and giving the same grace, right? And I'm saying the same way we look at Jordan's early failures, the same way we look at Jordan's early failures and say he had to learn how to win. I do the same thing for LeBron. I keep it the same. All I ask is that other people do the same. You know what I'm saying? Don't say that LeBron just.
I just asked you a question. You're not answering my question.
You failed too.
But I'm not saying MJ didn't fail. I'm just asking you if there was a time, and not what other people are saying.
I never thought. I answered you. I never thought that LeBron was scared of nothing. Okay. I haven't, and I'm saying that the statistics say that LeBron is more clutch in the playoffs. I'm talking about the playoffs. So I'm saying in the playoffs, once he started getting to the playoffs, his stats say that he is more clutch than Jordan, and Kobe's stats say that he's way worse than people give him credit for in the clutch. Kobe has statistically shot his team out of more games in the clutch than he shot his team into wins.
Hey man, take it easy on my guy, bro.
I love Kobe.
A lot of. No, you don't. The way you just did that shit. The way you just did that shit.
It's just
there would be no shitting on the Mamba, or I'm off this call, bro.
It's just real. It's just real. It's just because we get so caught up in the nostalgia of things.
It's not just nostalgia, Joe. It's not just nostalgia.
It's actually happened like that.
It's doing things like, but it's also doing things like averaging 41 in the NBA Finals, being the MVP and winning a championship and winning 6.
You just wrote that up.
40 and lost because he was shooting his team
out of game. Listen.
Well, I'm talking about MJ.
in all fairness, like, see how he just mentioned that? He just like kind of, it felt like he just brushed it off. It did, honestly.
No.
Listen. I just feel like,
I already made the point. I already made the point that we can talk about Jordan being a scoring champ all we want to, but in the same breath, we got to talk about him being a scoring champ and losing, because that's all he wanted to do.
I think that's what makes. I think, firstly speaking, the fact that he was doing all of that scoring and still getting bounced out of these playoff rounds is part of the reason that I appreciate Jordan. Is the part of the reason that I appreciate LeBron for the same thing. It's like, yo,
that's one thing for me.
It takes more than scoring to be a champ. You got to have teammates.
But that's one thing for me. That's one thing for me, though. He was getting bounced as the 8th seed when he was the only reason. When he really was the only reason they were getting into the playoffs. But he was balling. He's getting bounced, scoring 60 and 40.
Let's keep it right, because people don't say that about LeBron. They don't go. It's like somebody. We brought up a stat. Who was it? It was Kendrick Perkins last week that said when Jordan was getting bounced out, he was getting accolades, and everybody was like, "Well, he balled." But if LeBron did the same thing in today's era, he would get ripped.
No,
he would get ripped.
No, that's not true. Well, not for me. Not for me. If LeBron scored 63 and 49 and got bounced, I'd be like, dude, that dude went out fighting. But when you go to the finals, and
LeBron, game one against the Warriors, LeBron had dropped 50. They lost.
I would never trash him on that. I would never trash him on that.
I don't think they trashed LeBron.
No, they did. They trashed him. They trashed. I got to watch that for that.
I watched that game, and I was sitting over there like, I was like, yo, LeBron is balling. I remember watching that game like, bro, I was rooting for him. I never liked that Golden State team to begin with.
That series was the we're talking about the year they beat the Warriors, right?
No, we're talking about the year that the Warriors acquired KD.
The year they pulled it off, and then the year that they lost to them, and they thought they had a shot there, and JR had the blunder. Those two finals but both of them though, I was like, this is where LeBron really makes his argument for being as good as MJ. This is where his whole case is going to sit, because it's one of the biggest displays we've ever seen in the game. It was incredible. I was sitting there watching this game just like, no one is even close to being on his level in this series. Right? Not even close.
And to your point, bro, the season before when they got the steal and, he gets it to Iguodala, and LeBron has the iconic block and he goes over with his hands in the air like I've given it all I can. To me, I was like, yo, this is one of the greatest performances I have ever seen. And I loved it. Here's the deal. And once again, what's funny about all of this is that the fans get more turned about it than the actual players. Because if you watch one of Michael Jordan, so every year that Michael Jordan won a championship, they would do like a Jordan video, whatever, right? Airtime, Come Fly Me, whatever the fuck. I remember on his last one, Michael Jordan was like, there will be a player better than me. He used to say that all the time. You know what I mean? So I do think it's funny because we get hella turned, but LeBron and Jordan and like I say, Kobe, the people that we really love. Listen, if you in LA, you know who's king here. It's like it's King Kobe. But you never hear the players going at each other. You know what I'm saying? But I will say this. For dude to go 6-0 with a year and a half of retirement, that's pretty special, bro. And to never have 100%. A game 7 while doing it, that's because I remember when Jordan first came back, he plays Orlando Magic, who had Shaq and Penny in their heyday, and by all accounts, I thought they were going to be the favorites, but they ran up on the Dream, and the Dream underrated. The Dream is underrated.
Oh yeah, absolutely underrated.
Yeah,
the Dream was giving Shaq that fucking work down there with the footwork. Take this big fella, take that big fella, and I remember them saying it's a new era and your time is up.
He's underrated because they took those two when MJ was retired, and he was drafted first overall the same year as MJ. So he gets swept under the rug a little bit, but incredible.
It's something about no game 7s though, Joe. You got to admit that, man. Never playing a game 7 in the finals. That's pretty good.
To me, that's not what Jordan did a lot of. Let me be clear. Jordan did a lot of things. Jordan did a lot of things. I want to give you this too, yo.
You can't even get
see how they do me. I can't even get it out before they start messing with me. Let me be clear. Let me be very clear. Jordan did a lot of things. Jordan did a lot of impressive things, right? Because I have Jordan number 2 on my list all time. I have LeBron 1 and I have Jordan 2, right? I don't have him 20th or 15th or 8th, right? I have him too, right?
You wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know it by some of the arguments.
Because I gotta.
So wait. So I'm gonna do my Joe
Some of
impression
y'all
right now.
be making some
What's
foolishness.
your Joe impression?
I want to do the Joe impression right now. So I'm gonna be me.
No.
Yeah. But MJ, now I'm Joe.
No.
I haven't even.
False. That is false.
Yet.
Yo,
as
that's
soon
false.
as I say M.
Y'all know that's false. Y'all know that's false. Anyway.
MJ.
Let me be
MJ
clear.
Schmemj.
Let me be clear. Jordan did a lot of things that impressed me. That was very impressive. That are legendary. That impressed me. The no game 7 thing. I hear that's not impressive to me. Like the 6 championships is what's impressive to me. The 2 3-peats is what's impressive to me. But this is something that, of course, we can go. This is the argument that never ends. But we all love the documentary. We're looking forward to next week's should be episodes 5 and 6, I think. So that's gonna be a good watch and a fun thing to check out.
We need this documentary, man, because there's nothing in sports.
Yeah.
Save my life, bro.
Okay, we gotta move. So next up on the docket is this new situation.
Can I interject real quick, Joe?
Go ahead.
I want you guys. Have you guys seen this meme of Gronk after spending 24 hours in Florida?
No.
Can you see that?
It's like him.
That's gonna offend some people. That's fucked up. It's kind of funny though, because he looked like a Florida boy.
It's not too far off, like to be. That situation might get really out of hand. Really. Gronk is gonna run. I heard that they have a Bruce Arians has a saying: "Win or lose, we booze." That to me, that's why Gronk ended up in Florida.
Oh god, that was so funny.
Okay, we gotta move. So, we talked about a week ago or a week and a half ago. We talked about this new influx of not really an influx, but a new situation with top recruits from high school skipping college and going into the G League. And it's funny because we went back and forth about whether we saw this becoming a thing, whether we saw this picking up some steam, and how we think it could affect the NCAA and NBA. And my stance was, this is a much bigger deal than a lot of people are making of it. I saw the first one and I was like, and then it happened again, and then it happened again. So today, JT sent me a note. 5-star recruit, I want to say his name is Dashin Nix, becomes the latest player to pass on college to join the G League, the new G League pathway. He's the 3rd player to join the G League from the top recruits of 2020, following number 1 prospect Jalen Green and 5-star recruit Isaiah Todd. But he's the first player to actually decommit from a signed letter of intent to a D1 school to join the G League. And just a nugget about this new G League pathway again, it's top prospects get at least $500,000 with the ability for it to be more, and a 1-year developmental program.
Yo, give me those
you guys
again,
think about
Joe.
Say it again.
Ty, what was his first name?
Dashin Nix was the one who declared today. Jalen Green was the number one overall prospect, and Isaiah Todd was the other guy who did it. What do you guys think about this, and where this trend picking, how this trend is picking up? Where do you think about it, and where do you think it's going to go?
It's long overdue, and I think the question is, as far as how widespread it's going to be, is really going to be on the league to figure out, okay, so this year, let's say we end up with 5 guys that do it this year, because we're already at 3, right?
Yeah, we're at 3.
So let's say we end up with 5. It might even be more, but let's say there's 5. And let's say 2 or 3 of those guys even pan out. Because when you look at even the McDonald's All-American game, how many of those guys actually not only become stars, but just even have careers in the NBA, like real 8-9-year careers? Probably only not even half of them, maybe half. So the question is, how often are teams based on this class going to start really taking risks on guys? And is it going to turn into a thing where it's 20, 30 guys?
Right.
Or is it going to stay at a 5 to 10 type of thing, right? Which is obviously a big deal. But what's your guys' thoughts?
I was looking it up because I thought I read when you guys sent me the notes, I was trying to like do a little studying so I knew what I was talking about just a little bit. Ty decommitted from Michigan. I knew there was two. And like your point, UCLA is a much bigger basketball school with a longer pedigree. I think that LeBron James had no business being in college. It was a waste of his time. He's one of the most phenomenal talents ever. And Zion Williamson is a freak of nature specimen. However, some people aren't done growing yet. And I think that this is all on the NCAA. This is the NCAA's fault. Realistically, I went to KU. I'm a Jayhawk for life. I was born and raised in Kansas City, Kansas. Listen, man, it's what I like. But when it comes to basketball, that school, we bleed it. You know what I mean? Like that is our thing. And when your athletic department is making billions of dollars off of not a conglomerate of sports, but off of basketball. Right. And these jerseys are being sold and the players like for video games and the player getting any money, it's going to breed contempt. It just is. It's like there's no way around it. And the fact that what would make it so bad is not only would you not pay players what they're worth, it's how you would literally try to turn around and find them and make their lives live in hell professionally if they ever took money, it would affect the player's draft status, how you would pretty much all but ruin a player for taking $100 suit or whatever.
It's interesting, Joe, because we've talked about both of these things now. It's interesting that this program for the G League and the NBA is coming in right at the same time that we're about to start paying college players to attend as well. So that's another big thing is because if the NCAA really wants to like keep guys coming, they got to figure out something that at least makes sense financially for the top guys to say, maybe I will go to college and I won't go to the G League. Yeah. Right. Because if you can make, like we had Mike on the other day, he said, man, I think if you go to Kentucky or a big school like that, you should be getting 6 figures. Yeah. So if you can get 6 figures to go to college, as opposed to go to the G League and make, I don't know what it comes out to a year that these kids are going to make in the G League.
They're going to make $500,000 at least
for the year, for the season,
for the top prospects for the season. So it'll be $500,000.
So that's a big difference, but maybe that tips the scale a little bit for some kids to go to school, especially if they don't necessarily need to go make that big money.
Yeah, I think it's smart.
My son needs to go make that big money. But
Facts. So does mine.
Some friends but some friends that I grew up with, they don't need to go make that money. They can go to Duke and
But to be honest, for me, and having Mike Cook, we had Mike Cook on last week. If you haven't seen that episode, go watch it and go stream it. We had Mike Cook, who's been in the G League before, right? And I think for me, money aside, I think I would send my kid to the G League path because, like Mike said, there's no training like actually being in it and doing it, right? And he said, you get adjusted faster. He spoke about a lot of things that we didn't even think about basketball wise that better prepares you for the NBA, right? He said down to the shot clock, right? He's like, you were in the G League and you're already, practicing and doing, 5-on-5s with the 24-second shot clock, right? Which is something that is different from college. So you're already adjusted to that, like, all right, we going. You know what I'm saying? That's something that you get adjusted to faster. The lifestyle, being able to be around other pro athletes, right? That's something that is going to be beneficial to a young kid coming out of high school. So I think for me, even just, for other reasons outside of the money, I feel like the G League pathway is probably a little bit more beneficial to me. If I think that my kid really has, a high potential, a high chance of being drafted, I want to put him in there because now not only is he a professional and he's treated like a professional, but he's not labeled a student athlete and still treated like a professional. He doesn't have to focus on school and all this other stuff.
Gabriel brought up a good point that I hadn't thought about because I hadn't thought about it in this way, but that is an issue though, because me at 18 years old, was I ready to go be a professional athlete? even if I had the physical ability, I'll be honest, I wasn't. I would have screwed up. I would have done a lot of stupid things. So I think that's a question too. Zion probably was mature enough to go and be a professional.
Yeah.
Some kids might need to go to college and have a guy like a Roy Williams or a Coach K to go, hey, I'm going to prepare you for the next level, but you need a year or two. It's not just about basketball. So that's a good point. I hadn't really thought about that. If my son's like, okay, my son's going to go make $500,000 to play this season, and I'm looking at my son like, no, that's not about to happen, because now you can derail your future. Right. So that is a
because to your point, that's the other part I was thinking about too. It's like, okay, one thing, not to say back to LeBron and Michael Jordan, because that's not what I'm trying to do, but Michael Jordan, he has such a high level of respect for the late great Dean Smith and Bobby Knight, and there are so many players like, all right, so I'm somebody who loves collegiate sports because there would be no WNBA in women's collegiate sports without people like Pat Boone, rest in peace, who's one of the GOATs, in my opinion. I found out that she was doing recruiting trips and driving people in a fucking station wagon. So you think about it, and you hear players who are in the league still get emotional when it comes to certain coaches because, think about it. Kobe Bryant, who I love, hails praise on Coach K like crazy when he coached the Redeem team in 2008. He was like, yo, he had me on a different diet. He was like, I'm playing better than I've ever played just from playing for Coach K. And Kobe Bryant went from high school to the pros. Now, on the other side of that, it's kind of like you are going to be in an environment where you are around other NBA players. I think it's smart on the G League because most times I've always thought that the G League is kind of like a graveyard, if I'm being honest. I really don't care much about
it's changed,
and I never really, it's clearly changed.
Yeah.
Like I never really,
that's what it was, because that's kind of what it was. Yeah.
It's going to be a true minor league now, and what I do like about it, because look, in some situations, like I talk about how I'm broke. Look, compared to a lot of people, I work 5-6 different freaking jobs. Compared to some people, I'm rich. So the reality is there's some 17, 18-year-old kids, there isn't a choice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there isn't a choice. Like if I'm at home, my grandfather is in a wheelchair, my mom can't work. You know what I mean? Like there's all sorts of situations like that. It's like, son, you're now a professional.
Right.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Like here we go. Because there isn't any other choice. But I'm just saying in certain situations it tips the scale a little bit.
But this is what I find interesting though. What really got my attention about the G League wasn't the fact that they were just going to G League when I found out they were making $500,000. I remember my guy who was like a math teacher or whatever got caught up a couple seasons ago to play 2 games with the Lakers, and he had like 2 really big games or whatever, and he got NBA by the NBA guys with Charles Barkley and those guys. Like, dude, the average G League salary is $35,000 a year.
Yeah.
So it's like if I've been in the G League for 2 years and I'm not making that, and then I see somebody come up and they're giving them $500,000 to play in the same league as me, it's like, oh, bro, you better be worth it.
But that's professional. That's because in the pros, that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's why, I like the aspect of, pre-pro training, I guess we can call it, right? Like when you get to the league, there is no, like we talked about paying college athletes in the other episode, and we talked about trying to make it a uniform thing where everybody gets a certain percentage, uniformity around the school. I mean, around the team, but that's not reality, right? Like in the real world, you are what you're worth what somebody is willing to pay you, right? And so that's reality. When you get to the league, if you're drafted by the Lakers, guess what? LeBron James is gonna make a lot more money than you do, right?
Definitely.
So it's just part of the real world. And so I hear what you're saying, but I think that's a nice little wake-up call for you. Welcome to the real world. Like, this is how it is. And if you want to make more, you want to get there, you just got to be better. You got to work towards it.
It's been happening in baseball forever.
Yeah.
I mean, the big one.
Yeah, it has.
All types of players, but especially you're a big-time pitcher. You have a big-time arm. You're going to go have you guys watched Bull Durham, one of the greatest baseball movies of all time?
I think I've seen
it. Incredible movie. I haven't watched it for years, but I used to watch it all the time. Tim Robbins is the hotshot pitcher. It's AAA baseball. Kevin Costner is the catcher that's been in the minors his entire career, had a couple short stints in the majors. Tim Robbins comes in, he's on a multi-million-dollar contract, and he's playing minor league baseball. And before that, he was in like single A or double A. He's driving a Porsche. He's doing all this stuff. These other guys don't even own cars half the time, and guys are coming for him. And meanwhile, Kevin Costner, the catcher, is teaching him the ropes, being like, "Hey, write this down. This is what you got to be prepared for." Yeah. But that is reality. You're willing what somebody's willing to pay you. You're you're worth what that company is willing to pay you, which in this case, Kentucky would be the company, or Duke would be the company. Yep. You go to a bigger company and make more money.
Yeah.
And everybody, what's that?
No, I was just, I was going to say, I am curious to see how that translates to somebody out of college, because this is something else that I see. I find it really, really fascinating about the pros. Like the hot shot in college or the big man on campus they had, sometimes the people, how many number one picks have been bust in the NBA?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, and then all of a sudden it's like, yo, where was this dude in college? And now they're one of the top players.
That's the
in
tough
the NBA.
thing.
So I'm curious to see how that dynamic's going to work out.
That's the tough thing, because Darius Miles probably could have used at least a couple, 2-3 years in college, because once you get to the league, you have a window. You have a window, and that it's not going to. I mean, the G League helps, but when they're paying you this money, you're going to have a window in the same way. Like, look, if we don't see development in 4 or 5 years, which at that point you'll be 22. Like that's when guys in the past have gotten to the league.
Right.
If by 22, when you're supposed to in the past be just now ready to go to the league, if you haven't developed by then, you're gone, and you won't get a job, because who's going to be willing to develop you?
Right.
It's like you either are on a team where you're a piece that's trying to win a championship, or you're a guy that a team is hoping is going to be one of those pieces. There's not a lot of middle ground.
Not just there's even less. I saw your hands like that.
Right. It's
especially since we're paying you and you ain't developing,
and you're not paying it out.
Right.
Ooh, I'm curious to say this. I'm kind of excited, and once again, I'm rooting for him.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see the power shift happen.
Absolutely, but we're going to be seeing some stories at some point on the guys that did the G League route and it derailed their career instead of helping their career.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's going to happen.
100%.
Because you know what? Like I was to your point about, like you said, if your 18-year-old son would be like, yeah, I'm ready. You kind of would be like, you didn't know which way you want to go. It's, that sometimes discipline. Man, discipline is a valued thing. You think about Mike Tyson at the age of 21, 22, he was heavyweight boxing champion of the world. Yeah. And it's like, this dude already had 9 figures in his bank account. And it's like, okay, while you are an adult, you're just not used to it. There's a discipline aspect, and I just wonder how that's all going to translate. Hopefully speaking, I really, really hope that these players already see themselves as a business and as an entity and all these things now, because there's a level of goofy that you have at 18 that oddly enough you don't have at 21. You know what I mean? It's like those short little 3 years, knock that goofiness right on out of you. So which is point for LeBron, by the way. And just so we're clear, the most scandal-free athlete I've ever seen in my life.
That's a fact. Well,
that's
I love LeBron.
Off the court, there's no argument to be made between the two.
No, he's one of the greatest athletes of our time. I just want to put that out there. I'm not against. See how I do it. See how I do it equally.
Off the court, I will never forget hearing Michael Jordan say, "Republicans buy sneakers too," or something like that.
Yeah,
it's something to the.
Wasn't a good look. So, but like to your earlier point, to both of you guys' earlier point, hopefully the NCAA takes a key from that, because this is what we learned this year. I looked up Bill Self at KU, and it's probably going to be the trend. A lot of head coaches of these huge athletic programs, they're all taking 10% pay cuts since nobody got to play this year. And television revenue is such a big part of the game.
Right.
And I personally love March Madness, and I was because I like seeing the little sleeper schools like UMBC took out Xavier a couple years ago. UMBC took out the #1 overall seed.
Right.
And University of Maryland, Baltimore County took out. Like, this is when you find out about schools you never heard of.
True.
But if you don't have that showcase right there, then once again, now head coaches are taking pay cuts. So
I think you'll still have it, because everybody can be a top prospect, right? Like you said, the average salary is $30,000, right? The guys that's coming in that's making 6 figures are top 5, top 10, top 15 prospects, right? So I think that you still have that excitement. That's not a paid endorsement. So
I want a sponsorship. Let's go.
The guys that are actually making that 500 plus are top prospects, and that's just not everybody else in college. So I think we'll still have that. It'll just be a little bit of the lackluster will be knocked off a little bit, because a lot of I believe that a lot of the top guys are going to go this route. They're going to start going that Okay, let's get out of here on this. Aaron Gordon, the slam dunk champion, Aaron Gordon.
True champion. He's not the champion.
Well, the true
people's champ.
The people's slam dunk champion made a diss track. They made a
disrespectful.
And I guess
let it go, bro.
It was a Dwayne Wade diss track about how everybody else gave him 10s, I guess, but Dwayne Wade gave him a 9. So since we have a super producer on with us, we need to get your opinion and your idea of this diss track. Now, if you guys haven't heard the diss track, we're gonna try to play a little bit of it.
Can I say something about it real quick?
Now, yeah.
Listen. Aaron Gordon, San Jose, California, my hometown. Born and raised there, just like me. Went to Mitty High School, West Catholic Division, Valley Christian High School for me, West Catholic Division. I love Aaron Gordon. We don't have a lot of great athletes come out of San Jose, California. And I've always backed up Aaron. And he's also correct. He deserved to be the slam dunk champion, not once, but twice.
He did.
100%.
He did.
But please, Aaron, don't ever make a diss track, a praise track, any sort of track ever again. I don't want to hear any tracks.
Let's get a little bit of the diss track in here real quick.
No tracks. Don't even make a train track.
He's got a music video too. For you watching on YouTube, you can see his little.
9 out of 10, I'ma keep his end. 9 out of 10, can you please fix your lens? 9 out of 10, got you playing pretend. 9 out of 10, here we go again. 9 out of 10, could've bought the film a Benz. 9 out of 10, are you making amends? 9 out of 10, I probably lost an M.
Ain't nothing, man. Let it sink in.
Like
Used to hoop in your Converse so comfortably. Knew one day I'd be good and you'd come for me. Didn't know it would make me this hungry. Looking at your judgment and everyone's wondering. Ride the heat, the windy city. Did you see the damn coat? Saw you in the hallway. You say young and put on a show.
Okay, so there's enough of that. So that happened.
Okay, so like, all right, can I please just give you my
yes, please.
First off, the track you didn't make it, so kudos whoever made the track. It was good, but like there's a movie called Brown Sugar. Yeah, there's a movie called Brown Sugar where the basketball player Kevin D wants to be a rapper, and it's like, look, stop. Shaq is the greatest rapper who played basketball, and that's me being facetious. And Dame Lillard.
I'm about to say, you know who's the greatest ball player rapper? It's Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard. Bars, bro.
Also from the Bay, doing it right.
This is how I feel about it. Like, now, help me if I was wrong, just so we clear the air about what actually happened. Did he make it on his first attempt, or did he make it on his second attempt?
I don't remember.
With Aaron Gordon. And did he truly clear dude's head, or did he kind of scuff? He said, these are things that matter. When you try to jump over a person, you need to jump over the person.
He wasn't clearing like that, no. Yeah.
Now, I will say, in all fairness, when he went against Zach LaVine the previous year, when he did under the legs, I thought he won. I was like,
he definitely won.
Like that.
He definitely won. And no shade to Zach. Like, they both, it was an amazing dunk. One
of the best I've ever seen in my life.
He won.
Better than Dominique and Jordan. Better. Oh, yeah. It was clearly better. So I think that he sounds like somebody who didn't have to talk much because he always had athletic ability, and it painfully shines through in the track. And he should. I know he's bored. You're grown. You can do what you want. Bro, can we ask a real question? And let it go. Let's not act like D Wade just has a vendetta against you, bro.
No.
Stop. D Wade is one of the greatest ball players of all time. He's one of my favorite players of all time.
Thanks.
Stop. Listen. Let it go.
Can we also ask a question? Listen. Some of the top rappers in the game don't write their own rhymes.
Yes,
you are a basketball player. Don't write your own rhyme.
Or hire somebody.
Or if you did hire somebody to write that, hire somebody else. That was awful. That was
in a speech coach.
I could sit here and write something right now better than that.
Yeah, hire somebody else to do that.
I could have bought the Fama Benz. You still can buy the Fama Benz. You're a fucking NBA player.
Aaron, I love you. San Jose represent. Don't punch me in the face if I ever meet you. Just don't rap anymore.
Yeah,
Also, come play for the Warriors. Please come play for the Warriors.
Gabe Roland, thank you so much for coming on the show, gracing us with your presence today. Please tell everybody where they can find you. You have your own music out right now too.
Yeah, man.
Can you tell us where to find it? Where are you what's happening next with you, and where they can follow you at?
You can follow me at I Am District. My music moniker is District. It's something that I wear on my sleeve for the city I'm from. I grew up in District 500. So on stage, I am DSTRK, District DSTRK. You can follow me at I Am DSTRK. And I just put out an EP literally 1 week ago, and it is called the Couture EP. Couture is a fashion term, means fashion specifically designed for you. So I call it Couture because it's music specifically designed for you. You can get that.
Dope.
Man, thank you both for having me, man.
Hey, man, when we get out of this,
for coming on,
go hoop when we get out of this at some point. You
can find me. I'm old. I can't get out of
this.
If we ever get out of it, you can find me at Joe Connor 33. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search Backstage Sports.
At JT Harker for everything.
For everything. Until next time, please stay home and stay safe. Peace.